I Read, I Breathe, I Am by Janine Bushby, Moorland, 2443. Narrated by Chloe Schwank. Curiosity, courage, and compassion, my personal values entrenched in every action and decision. Where did they start? How were they embedded? How did they become what made me? I straightened my pink fluffy earmuffs as steam materialized with every breath, and shrugged my clothes away from my skin to relieve the wool itch of my jumper as I tapped impatiently at the puddles that would ice over before morning. I shouldered my calico bag full of precious cargo and trudged in my child-sized gumboots towards the lights of the library steps. The door was shuttered against the winter's night, but through the front windows I could already see the Aladdin's cave of stories, set out in rows of colour. I huffed more steam and moved faster. Last fortnight's books went gently into the returns pile as I tore off my coat, muffs and gloves, and twirled around looking for the book that would enchant me for the next 2 weeks. My teacher had always said, "You can't judge a book by its cover," but I always do. In my small corner of rural Australia in the 1960s, radio was my immediate connection to the world, through the ABC's Kindergarten of the Air. For everything else I was curious about, there were books. Books of pictures, poems, and stories that opened up magic kingdoms, adventures, and learning. The shelves above my bed held my own treasured books, Winnie the Pooh, Now We Are Six, and the spines of some golden books that were cheap, easily available, and something for everyone. As I grew, books helped the value of courage become embedded next to curiosity. I spent my hours reading the Enid Blytons, tales of the adventurous famous five, following their breathtaking bravery as they foiled smugglers, discovered treasure, and helped recapture escaped prisoners on their school holidays. The Secret Seven operated from a day school in a similar vein, and there were many boarding school tales as well. Most of my imaginings were in England, as stories of adventurous Australian children were harder to find. I do recall They Found a Cave by Nan Chauncey and Mary Grant Bruce's Billabong series. In a small, isolated family where children were to be seen and not heard, these characters became my companions and inspirations as I became their friend to help solve mystery after mystery. Courage was also personified by the astronauts involved in the space race of the 1950s and 60s. I, along with the rest of my school, lined up our chairs in the L-shaped corridor. In the angle where the two wings of the school met, the only TV was set up and tuned to the moon landing. The reception was grainy, with a rolling picture that could be stabilized from time to time with a satisfying thump on the side of the set. The small rabbit's ears antenna were twirled around and around until the best picture was determined. We, along with millions of others, heard the words, "And a giant leap for mankind." The feeling that space was the next big adventure led me to read Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, and Aldous Huxley, with their additions to the sci-fi genre. My small world expanded again, away from the confines of Earth and further out into the universe. Compassion as a value was always present alongside curiosity and courage. From the soothing energy of Christopher Robin, through the slew of child protagonists helping others, to humans turning their wrath from each other to fight the imagined threat in the wider universe, compassion was the underlying impetus of most fiction. However, my understanding of the value of compassion as not just an empathetic thought, but a driver of changed behaviours, came from exposure to the reflections in non-fiction books. My love of real stories was sparked by our family's subscription to the Reader's Digest, the monthly paperback full of long-form literature, stories and adventures, the latest technology, medical knowledge and ideas, interspersed with engaging whimsical comedy. My turn would come in the family hierarchy and I embodied compassion vicariously through the actions of others as I read their stories. Womanhood brought autobiographies of Kay Cotty, who single-handedly sailed around the world, territory previously reserved only for men. Germaine Greer and the Female Eunuch demanded I see the world and my place in it differently. Mary Quant autobiography showed me I could run empires, and Jane Fonda showed me that I could be fit, sexy, and train with the boys at the gym. The possibilities of who I may become and how I could help others expanded with my exposure to hundreds of non-fiction books. Books continued to nurture and define me. Yates' Gardening Guide blossomed my interest in gardening. Car manuals helped keep my rust bucket roadworthy, and the Women's Weekly cookbooks, newly printed with shiny pictures of international cuisine and children's birthday cakes, exploded my love of cooking. Travel books, like Foda's Europe and Europe on $35 a day, helped dispel the myth of the duality of human experience, while language dictionaries helped me to connect to others in their own tongue. I learned about child raising with Dr. Wright, mindfulness with Pema Chodron, and defined the colors in my wardrobe and life through Color Me Beautiful by Carol Jackson. Today, my learning continues, bound by my values of curiosity, compassion, and courage. I tackle books on longevity, fitness at any age, and financial management, with chuckles coming from Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club and the new genre of retirement village adventures. I come back to myself, the pages shut to be reopened at another time, the cover attracting one last glance before I rejoin the thread of energy of the day and reflect on my experience and learning from my latest read. Books have determined my values. At times they have been my solace, my refuge, my only friend. Books. They are what made me. The end.